Speaking of authors and maniacs and great books and great content, Jim, we've got somebody that is the epitome of everything I just said in there, eh?
Well, I mean, I'm telling you right now, Mike Mueller's book, The Complete Book of Corvette, 5th edition, every model since 1953. If you've got a gearhead, in your life, if you've got a fan of Corvettes, if you've got a veterinarian who happens to love Corvettes, there was a vet here in New Orleans called the Vet. It this book is so much fun. He has worked, by the way, Mike is who we're talking to and about. Mike Mueller has worked as an automotive photojournalist since '87. He's a lifetime car enthusiast. It really shows in the book. Has written and photographed more than 30 automotive and truck history books and contributed photography to at least that many more. His byline, you can find it in Vet, Corvette Fever. Among his long list of titles are motor books, Chevrolet, 50 Years, The Complete Book of Classic Dodge and Plymouth, Muscle, Camaro, 50 Years of Chevy Performance. That's a really cool book, by the way. And The Complete Book of Ford Mustang, another awesome thing. We like Mike. He's terrific. We're bringing him back.
Like
Mike Mueller.
If I could be like Mike, wanna be like Mike.
I'd write books about Corvettes. Hey, man, good morning. Welcome to your first appearance on Road Gang Radio, our new platform. How you doing?
Mueller. Well, I'm doing great. I knew I was in the right place when I heard the 38 special rendition there moments ago.
Oh, my God. Hold on loosely. Oh, my God.
Hold on loosely. I'll keep going.
There is, by the way, in that song, a moment that actually where the engine turns over. As good as that song is, there's a moment that goes into the stratosphere, by the way. That just, you know what I'm talking about? Is when you turn and walk away. Oh, that moment is just like literally like. By the way, it feels like a Corvette. That song feels like a muscle car, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah. Are you talking to me now?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Oh, yeah, Mike, I forgot to tell you, we play this game called Ignore the Guest, and then we remember what we're doing. So hello, welcome to the program. For here on out, we are talking to you.
Yes, and also I'd like to enter in here with another comment. Be glad that there's no camera here because I'm sitting here scantily clad right now.
Ooh, happy Friday!
Yeah.
What are you wearing, Mike?
Nothing.
Well, yeah, I guess you call these undies.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
And I don't know what Friday. And then that's the benefit of doing what I've done for so long. I forgot what Fridays were about 30 years ago. And now there's a two sides to that. I do wish I could remember what living for the weekend was like, but a lot of times my Mondays are Fridays.
Yeah, so it's a good place. It's a good place, Mike, to start the conversation before we dive into this beautiful piece of art and work that you've done. Because it's an interesting thing with creatives, with writers, and with truckers, as we've talked about. It's I think two truths can be the same at once. I can be like, I'm glad that I don't have to worry about what day it is anymore. That I'm not like just living for the weekend, but then also. I did like that when I was in a world where I could kind of sign off at Friday at 5. I did play that part at once upon a time in my life. And there is something, this is also way before social media and before our brains could exhaustingly always have something to be staring at. But there is something nice to be like, come Friday at 5, that the cliche, I'm going to the game, going to the lake, going to the bar, friends, whatever it is that you do. There is something nostalgic or that I would miss about that, balancing those two worlds, right?
Yes, yeah. But then again, when my happy hour at Hooters started at 10 in the morning, that's it.
I like you, Mike.
Well, I can relate to the truckers world. I mean, I did drive heavy trucks when I was young, but also all these years of chasing after cars to photograph for these books, I've driven from one end of the country to the other, and I've done it. Often in my younger days, I did it in one setting, 1,000 miles in one bite. And when I had a car to shoot in California, I just hop in the car, and here I am in Atlanta, and a lot of times I just drive straight through, So put a lot of miles on the road in my day, and it was always worth it because I couldn't wait to see the car that I was going to photograph. So I was always like a little kid.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'm going to share a paragraph here, by the way, that is really fun. Suffice it to say that Icon is not a big enough world either for Chevrolet's beloved two-seater or the man behind it. And that sets off a paragraph that really is kind of the balancing act, because Lindsay's right. This is a work of art. This is beyond just a story being told. This is it's almost like a miniature installation art piece, because you've got to strike a balance between telling the human story that kind of plays through here. And this made me think about the weekend too, Lindsay, because you might not have a weekend, but I have to tell you, if your job has you in open areas looking at Corvettes and taking photos of Camaros, your life is kind of the weekend. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, good point.
There's a truth to that, by the way. But I wanted you to talk for our listeners out here, many of whom have been to the Corvette Museum. We actually drive by it on a regular basis when we go to Louisville for the Mid-American Trucking Show. But for all those people out there who have a deep passion for this machinery, and people just love this car, you know, why it's so important historically, and how it is you tell the story through both words and pictures while including the human factor in it. Because Lindsay loves all that human factor stuff. I could care less about people, but she seems to.
Human, go.
Well, it's the human factor on both ends. I mean, it's the people who have created the car, and the people who buy them are just as crazy on both ends. You know, and by crazy I mean a good thing. I feel guilty that I've got to meet all these people, the engineers and the designers who just love this car to death, and it shows. That's the product they've produced. It's a labor of love. And then, of course, the people who buy them, they're almost as loved as much as their pets, you know, their dogs and cats. So
sometimes more than their children, let's be honest.
Yeah, that too, or their wives.
Yeah, oh, for sure that.
Let's not even go there. But,
oh, I'm going to go there later. Don't worry. So go on.
But the men and the women. Now, obviously, there have been more men involved in building the Corvettes, but they love talking about the car too. Now, that's been a great thing for a guy like me in my work, because sometimes you can't get them to stop, and that's a good thing, you know. And all the introductions I've been to over the years, and they're just parties, you know. They're just great gatherings, and you talk about the museum there. The museum has, you know, various events throughout the year, and God, some of those events have been memorable moments for me, just being there, let alone, you know, doing work. You know, to call it work is kind of silly, because it's never been work; it's always been play. And I feel lucky to have found this work and to be able to play. Well, I've played with all cars, but Corvettes have always been dear to my heart too. So.
Well, that clearly shows in this book that is, I don't even think you can call it a book, because here's the thing, it's ideal as both a coffee table like showcase as well as a serious reference volume. It plays both to both of those worlds, which is a cool thing to be able to look at it as a visual, but then also be able to pick it up and read some facts off and chat with people. Sorry, I have to be ridiculous for a minute. Can I go back to, you said, you know, loving it more than your wife as a joke, but like, why did the Corvette become the midlife crisis car? Why did that happen?
Well, a lot of cars play that role. I mean, obviously,
but specifically, like a red Corvette kind of feels like you know the guy in that seat, right? Or am I wrong? Am I just stereotyping it?
No, you're right. It's funny. A lot of jokes told by that aren't exactly flattering tend to ring true too often, and I won't go too far more with that, because I don't want to step on any, you know, Corvette lovers' toes. But how many guys do replace what they're missing with a Corvette, you know?
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying.
I do.
But you know, one of the long-running hottest car in America, so hot carries over. It transcends. You know, you feel hot when you get in one, because the car is hot, and it's beautiful, and it's just everything about it just smacks of testosterone, which hot.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
if you're touching up your Corvette with a little bit of wax and a whole lot of testosterone, you're doing exactly what you want to be doing. I mean, okay, so this is really fun here, because Dave Nemo loves to say the future was yesterday, and of course, when we first started off with the car, just in general, it was electric, and then it's only later on that the gasoline becomes part of the equation. it's interesting because as classic a car as the Corvette is, it's actually an attempt to recapture something that was loved by people who used to drive in the past, the two-seater. I mean, and that's important for people to understand. Can you kind of take people through the history of how the Corvette comes into existence? Because it really is a case of everything old is new again, right?
Well, initially in 1953, the two-seat Corvette came along to try to take advantage of the popularity of British sports cars coming to America after World War II. And of course, if you remember the original MGs, the little bitty ones, which even though they were two-seaters, you had to be a child to get into those. They were so small. And think of what that must have been like to have a small two-seat car in America again, reminiscent of what you're talking about, the earliest cars. But here it was kind of fast. It was a six-cylinder, but relative to cars on the road then, it was sporty and fast. It played on a couple different things, and it was slow taking off. The first couple years were not so hot, and but once it did, it just of course the V8 came along in '55, and that changed everything. We didn't really know what driving fast cars. What we thought were fast cars were nothing compared to what the Corvette quickly evolved into, and it looked fast too, of course.
Yeah, it looked
fast.
It looked fast. Lindsay, you got a question?
Well, I was just going to say it's too bad that Mike doesn't know anything about Corvettes, and clearly no. But this book, like truly, I just so people know listening, and I do want to dive into a couple stories from the book. But just so you guys know, you chronicle in this book every model since, and correct me if I get any of this wrong, please, Mike. But every model since the 1953 C1 to the hybrid E-Ray and the 1064, if I say this wrong, because I don't know what I'm talking about, and the 1064 HP ZR1 mid-engine beast. It's over 350
You actually
pages.
said that right.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's over 350 pages, 8 generations. It's really a go-to reference for diehard fans. So I just want people to understand what this book is. We're really diving in. But I'm curious because the photography in it is so beautiful, which goes back to what I was saying on making it a great coffee book. What's the most, and this is probably hard to say, but I'll say one of the most epic Corvette images that you captured, and maybe a little story behind it so people get a little idea of how we humanize a little bit the cars in this book, which is okay.
A little bit. But the only thing that humanizes cars more than this book is the movie Cars.
The movie Cars,
okay,
Well, people ask me similar questions all the time, and that's a tough question because I hate to home in on one topic or subject in this. And I mean, all the cars, all the Corvettes I've shot are gorgeous. Some less than others, but there's a lot of historic ones too. And I've had the fortune of I've been fortunate enough to get chances to shoot one-of-a-kind cars, and I'd have to pick those out. The 1957 Corvette SS race car, the magnesium body beauty. They built two. There was a test mule too, but I got to photograph that, and I spent a day up there at the Corvette Museum out back, and I mean, I just wanted the day not to end. And if you look in there, it's in there, and it's just a gorgeous machine, especially for 1957. And you got to think of context, too, of what these cars looked like when they were new. Sometimes people look back and poo-poo because the opinions or the sensibilities have changed, of course, and they just don't get it. And I feel for those people because you got to put yourself in the seat then and think of what this car looked and felt like when it was first new.
When you showed up, do you see these cars? Like, do you get sort of giddy and nervous, like you're meeting a famous person when you see these cars? Like, oh my God, there he is. He's over there. He's over there. He's in the corner. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid. I was always afraid I was going to sneeze on him or something. Or worse. I mean, I sweated on him many times. There were times I dripped all over him when I was photographing in the heat. Then fortunately that didn't damage anything. But no, I like I said, I was always like a little kid. It was always fun for me. And by the way, I am retired, so to speak.
Congratulations.
I stepped out of retirement for this.
Oh yeah. By the way, this looks like a hell of a retirement. By the way, a 300+ page book full of pictures that you've taken with new additional stuff. The complete book of Corvette 5th edition. Its author is Mike Mueller. He's joining us this morning. I will tell you this, by the way. One of the things that I do love is the balancing act, because we've talked about this before, the idea of what pictures end up on the cutting room floor to kind of suffice. But I did want to talk about that, but I also want to kind of pivot. There you go, Lindsay.
Pivot.
I wanted to pivot because Lindsay talked about it as a coffee table book. I can see this book not only being on somebody's coffee table as a way of saying I like cars. I can actually see this in somebody's garage with the spine broken. I can see this in somebody's garage
manual of
with
sorts,
smudges on it as well. I mean, this is the kind of thing where you put pictures up. Guys, by the way, buy 2 copies. If you're going to do that, buy one for the living room and then buy one and make Mike rich.
Smart. Just makes sense.
Do that. But I wanted to ask you, because in many ways, I know there are things that must have just been agonizing. If there's one picture that didn't make it to the book, the last one that didn't make it to the book, the 13th Apostle, which one is it?
Oh, but that list is endless. I can't even tell you. Well, it's between my own photos, which of course I'm really protective of and love every one I take, and then there's all the stuff that GM has sent me, and it's just hundreds. And that's, you could ask. Well, by the way, I got to give kudos to Zach Miller, my main man at Motor Books, who has been with me for 30 years through all of this. And he knows, and he feels the same way. I'll send him 100 more photos than we can possibly use, and then we have to sit there and wade through and figure out which ones we're going to, cut off. And it's not just photos of the cars. I'm a gearhead. I love the stuff. I love the nuts and bolts. And of course, GM over the years has created wonderfully artistic cutaways and studio shots of brake rotors and clutches and pistons and you name it. And I want all of that stuff to be in there. And there's just not enough pages in the world to get everything that I want to put in this book in. So there's no way I can answer that question specifically. I got to say, I lean towards crying over losing a lot of the technical stuff. Like I say, we always make sure to get a good exterior focus on the car, and that comes first. And then if there's room and there's placements availability, we'll go with the technical stuff. And I like to show everything.
Really quickly, I wanted to ask you this too, by the way. Dre, I think I got a little drop off on Lindsay's side of the equation.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Oh, okay, I wanted to make sure. Okay.
That was my fault.
That's okay. As long as you're with me, that's all I care about.
I'm here. I was just going to say some of the people that are commenting, so you know. But Chowda says he's been in El Camino, Chevelle. But they're just now people are just listing cars they like. Different conversation, guys. But the Corvette, Dude Odd Man's talking about the Corvette run for St. Jude. I did real quick, guys, because I thought these were interesting comments back to our working for the weekend conversation. Because this, just to throw it in, Bruce Almighty says his days off rotate, but he knows definitely when his Friday is, which makes sense. Like it doesn't have to be actually Friday, but you know when your Friday is. Your Friday might be a Tuesday. So that's one thing. And then Dude Odd Man says, which is a great point, that yes, truckers do lean into weekend days because it means less traffic and more parking. So there's that. Anyway,
there is that.
Just had to throw that out. And speaking of our drivers, I'm curious. What would you say? Because most of our audience spends their work week behind whatever that is, behind the wheel of a big rig. And so, I bet a lot of them perhaps daydream, or a lot of them do have their cars that they drive on their downtime. A lot of them call us and tell us about it. But, sometimes the idea of trading the cab for the Corvette come Friday night or whenever. So, Mike, what would be the perfect Corvette for a trucker looking to let loose on the open road over the weekend? Nice. Something that will give you freedom, but still respect their need for some grit.
Okay, excuse me. I think I understand your question, but there are
somebody does finally.
Well, there are Corvettes that are better suited for daily driving and even going to the grocery store, and then there's the cars now that are just outrageous killers. You mentioned the new ZR1 with 1,000 horsepower. I never thought I'd see the day. Now, if somebody really wants to, break loose and feel what it's like to be Rocket Man, that would be the car. Of course, that's an expensive car. There are affordable Corvettes out there, and affordable, it comes and goes. There's affordable used Corvettes that you can drive and not worry too much about driving every day because you didn't pour a whole lot of money into them. That's not, all of us are in the same boat. We have our price tags and our limits. So I guess you got to figure out how much you want to spend and then how much you want to worry about the car you're driving around. Did I answer that right? Or
yeah. Well, you gave, kind of it point. What I hear you saying is there's something for everybody. You just have to really identify your parameters and your priorities.
Okay.
Yeah. Now stop and think about this. Back in the day, now this stopped in the 60s, the basic Corvette for years had a 3-speed manual transmission. That's what Grandpa drove, and they got rarer and rarer.
Aggressive Grandpa, but Grandpa. Yeah,
good band name.
But anyway, they finally figured out it just wasn't worth building those anymore because nobody wanted them. So the 4-speed became the standard there became a choice between a 4-speed and an automatic. And now here we have Corvettes with only one transmission. The technology has advanced so much now that you have a hybrid, a manual automatic transmission that you can shift manually, but it's still an automatic. And I never thought I'd see that day too, because I still love driving the traditional stick and a clutch on the left foot. That to me that's a real man's vehicle. So yeah.
By the way, I just wanted to share how things have changed so much. You said 1,000 horsepower. Made me think of one of my favorite quotes. This is from Car and Driver back in the day. Chevrolet insists there's only 425 horses in there, and we'll just have to take their word for it, explained a Car and Driver report, which went on to mention the only number that really counted anyway, 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. And I think about the fact of what it's all, as you said, we have to go back in time to kind of put it in context. We always have to put these cars on the road with the cars of their time to understand how often and how far ahead they were, right?
Yeah, isn't that amazing too? 5 point whatever seconds. They've had that. That's another thing I never thought I'd see. When 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, you realize that most humans, that's a whole lot of G's, and a casual driver would probably fill their pants. That's unbelievable, and it all happens so fast now. And
literally
about 425 horsepower. That used to be an unbelievable mountaintop. And now minivans have that, or whatever you want to say.
Subarus, man, a Subaru makes the jump to light speed. Subaru. It's like the guys from the British show about gears, all those gearheads. Like I got into a Subaru, dude. I'm suddenly like running along next to the Millennium Falcon. Mike, we're out of time.
Speaking of things going fast, my Lord, how did that go already over? Mike, you're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, by the way, it's called The Complete Book of Corvette, 5th edition. You guys should get it.
Every single model since 1953. That's a lot, guys.
Mike, we'll probably give you a call later on. I'll shoot the breeze with you. I can't thank you enough for joining us on our new platform at Road Gang Radio. We're so thrilled to have you, brother.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great.
The book is out now. You can get it wherever you find your books. It's out now.
Hey, I found one here on the floor.
Oh, there it is. It's out now. Literally, it's everywhere. It's falling from the sky. Check out Mike's book, The Complete Book of Corvette 5th Edition, every model since 1953. Hopefully, Mike will come back and talk fast cars again with us soon. And wearing something scantily clad. After all, it is Friday. Wear what you want to do. Wear nothing.
This is a real Friday. This feels like Friday. You want to know why? Because we don't have to work tomorrow. Friday. We'll be right back.